Good evening. This is Spectrum Voices Conversation here every Sunday, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. UK time, and 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States. This is Sunday, the 3rd of March, and as you can see, UK wise, the nights are getting a bit later, so time is kind of moving on a bit, which is always nice to see in terms of moving on from the British winter. So, good evening, everybody. How is everyone?
Well, you're cold over there in Scotland, and I'm hot as hell because I'm outside in Indonesia. It's 28 degrees tonight at 2 o'clock in the morning.
How do you manage to sleep?
Well, almost everywhere I've had so far has got air conditioning. If it wasn't for air conditioning, I just don't know.
All right.
An awful lot of the local people do not have air conditioning, and they live in they live in uninsulated homes. It's very privileged to be a tourist.
Yeah, I suppose it would be. So, good evening, Liz. Good evening, Morris.
Good evening. I'm feeling like I might need some air conditioning just because of the thought of it being 28 degrees at 2 a.m. Has made me come out in some kind of sympathy sweats. That sounds really, really tough to sleep in, Jules. Yeah, my condolences.
You sent an email at 2 o'clock in the morning with links, which was, I wasn't thinking it was going to be that early sent, so I found it late in the Autism Positive, and that one didn't forward either. I don't know whether it's because I had no subject line or there's something happening about forwarding. There was the things I sent today forwarded.
There was an issue with spam.
For all of us, or just for me?
Yep, all of us.
Okay.
Gillian?
Yeah, I've sent out a few emails, and they were all in your spam boxes. Not particularly you, Morris. Yours was in your inbox for the one that you were looking for. I know that it didn't transfer to your other email effectively, but I have checked the settings, and all emails that are sent to your Autism Positive address should be being emailed over to your other address. So yeah, we were a bit unprepared because we weren't looking in our spams, and we were missing out on some of the emails that are sent. Hopefully the system will learn, and when I send emails to you in the future, because it's from my address, it should gradually sort itself out. But until then, it's probably a good idea to have a look at the Autism Positive directly webmail and have a check in the spam there in case anything that's been sent there has gone astray.
I have to learn the habit. Autonomic routine.
I can't hear Morris.
I have to learn it as a habit, an autonomic routine.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, mate. You're right. It's something that occasionally you're going to have to, fit into the routine. Yeah. So as far as the meeting goes, we normally have a bit of a chat about what we've been doing. I can say that I've caught up with a few of the edits. In the background, I'm editing the programs that we've been doing for the radio that we listen to in an autistic mind, not the BBC TV program, but the World Service program that Liz found. And I'm actually, as I'm listening to it, we did this a few weeks ago. I think we've made 3 recordings in total, and it's still very interesting and very current, and it brings up a lot of the conversations to do with employment and to do with sensitivities, and it ties together a lot of different things. So I think when I've finished all 3 edits, we'll put them out as a series of 3 so that people can lead from one to the other. The other thing I worked on was I did a conversation, as you know, with Alex from Autism Adventures. I had to add a section of that because some of the end of the conversation that we had with Alex went into quite difficult territory, and I thought it better if I made a shortened statement towards the end of it. So I've put that out, and that should have been automatically scheduled, and it should have gone out today. Though because of the time difference, I'm not sure whether that's already happened or happening in a few hours' time. So that's something that you'll notice, Harry, on the Facebook. Has that come through yet?
Yeah, it came through today, yeah.
Okay. And another one that we had for a while ago, Liz led a conversation with Roshmi. I can't say the name right. Do you want to correct me, Liz?
Yeah, it's Royce-me.
Royce-me, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Sorry. So I was waiting for her to send me some links and things that she wanted to go with the page. And what I did was I received an email from her saying, "Oh, you know, it's a while ago." Oh, we've lost Liz again.
I don't want to just interrupt. I think Liz thinks there's an interference. But I think it's just, is it crickets or whatever, it's in your background?
It could be me touching the microphone.
Oh, right, okay, right. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. I'll stop touching the microphone. It keeps moving towards my mouth, and I keep trying to push it back. Okay, Liz, we waited for you then because we were talking about Royce-me. So the edit was all ready to go, and I was waiting for her to send us some links and things that go out with the edit in the program notes. She sent us an email asking when it would be going out, and so I quickly emailed back, and she sent me the links. So I put that out in the week, and hopefully she's going to be using her extensive social media presence to make people aware of her conversation with us. So that's something that's been completed as well this week.
Cool. You've been busy.
Yeah, I have. Considering I was stuck on an island with very little internet. Yeah.
Good work.
Well, it's, you know what, I listened to it again as I was putting things, and I think the person we need to say good work to is you, Liz, because it was a nice conversation. Obviously, Royce McKill's came across well. There was quite heavy editing, but it flows quite nicely, I think. So yeah, you did you did a good job on that.
We had the conversation, isn't it? So
yeah, it is. You're right.
Yeah. Cool.
Do you think we'll be getting Royce-me back again to have another conversation with her?
Yeah, I think that would be a really good idea. I know I'm seeing a lot of activity from her on LinkedIn at the moment, so I think in a month or two, she might have some really interesting stuff to come and speak to us about. So I think that'd be a good idea. Yeah.
Have you been listening to her recent stuff? Her podcasts? They're quite long, aren't they?
No, the thing is, with podcasts, I have to be doing something else. Otherwise, I just lose concentration. and I've been catching up on a load of the Spellers stuff. So that's been
All right.
kind of my catch-up podcast time has been on that lately. But yeah.
Would it be a good idea for you to tell us a bit about the Spellers?
So the main thing that's going on at the moment, we've got about 2 months worth of meetings, but somewhere in February and then through to the end of March, we're doing visioning for 2024, which is basically deciding what the activity is going to be. So far, I've only managed to catch up on one meeting. I think there are 6 or 7, and I can go to 2 because of time differencing stuff. So as far as I know, we have 2 main campaigns for the year. One is educating healthcare professionals, and the other one is increasing diversity among spellers. So that's basically as far as we've got, but we've got many more meetings to come on that, and that's kind of setting the framework for the year of activity. The main thing I was catching up with was SpellX, which is like it's kind of like cabaret in a way, like a variety show. Is possibly the way to describe it. So it's online, and spellers from literally all over the world made presentations or read poems or did whatever they wanted to do on the theme of outside the box. So it's all available on their YouTube channel now. I've just been catching up on it this afternoon, just watching the presentations again because it's fantastic. It was like 2 hours in the live event, and it was really interesting. There's some really, really powerful presentations there. So that's been a big catch-up project, just watching everything again. There was so much to take in that it was like, I'm going to have to watch this again and give my brain another go at absorbing all of this.
Yeah, very interesting. So much going on at the moment, which is great. Well done all. Is there anything else to discuss?
Well, I want to put this past you. I'm hoping that both of the 2 professionals that we're in contact with at the moment, Heather, who has got involved in our lives, and also Jim, who has offered to come back and have another conversation with us. Liz thought that when Autisticon came around, and you probably have all seen in your inboxes, or well, no, it will have been moved over from spam just recently, that Autisticon is now asking for proposals for November. Liz put forward the proposition that we partnered with a professional group. I doubt if that's going to be the Autism Network this year, but I wonder if we worked with Jim on the Seat at a Table project, that maybe we could frame a conversation about what Seat at the Table looks like for Autisticon, including Jim's input and Jim's ideas, and do see if we can ask him to work with us on that. What do people think about that?
This is a way of showing someone including us, basically. And including us.
Well, I think so. I think partly it could be saying that Autisticon itself is giving some kind of seat at the table by including autistic people, though, as we know, that's quite limited. I think Jim just will have ideas. It's just really early in my mind that if we develop this, what a seat at the table looks like during the year, that might be something that by the time we come around to November is something that develops into something that we could have as a presentation. And Jim seems like the ideal person because he speaks to us in a very open way.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So it's a starting theme to shape.
That's a really good way of putting it. Just somewhere to start from to shape. Yeah. At the moment, a block of wood. If we all get a few chisels out and make it into a sculpture.
What's the deadline for proposals? If you don't know off the top of your head, that's fine. I was just
I don't know off the top of my head, but I do remember it was quite a short period of time. I think you got about 2 months. So if we can, well, first of all, we have to decide whether that's a sensible thing for ourselves, and then we have to involve Jim in it. And we can't involve Jim in it until we've had his conversation. But I was hoping that if it sounded like a good thing to you guys, I would broach it, you know, in the bit after the recording's finished of a conversation, if you know what I mean. It usually works quite well that way.
Yeah, the seat at the table thing could be an interesting one. I think my original suggestion, whenever back it was born of a massive misunderstanding anyway. So yeah, not that one. Okay, the deadline to submit a proposal is 11:59 EDT, April the 2nd, 2024. So that's I've just gone on their website and find out the deadline.
That only gives us a month then.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with the suggestion as well. It's something. It'd be good to speak to Jim as well anyway, because I've had good conversations with him before, and I think it'd be a good way forward for something new, for that sort of thing. So, yep, I'm happy with it. The deadline, I don't know why, I thought it'd be a bit further than that, but I thought it was May or June, but April. Well, at least it's not tomorrow.
If that's not something that goes ahead or come, you know, because we obviously would have to include Jim in that. If are there any thoughts, or can people put some thoughts that whether they would like to do a Colacon proposal, or an alternative proposal that just comes from our own activities?
But I think we flogged that one. No, we want something different, which this is.
Morris, can you move nearer to your microphone?
I was just thinking we flogged that one. No, going to make another version of it because having something different is fresher. Moving things on.
Liz, your microphone's open. Is there something?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to detect if I could hear Morris talking, because I don't know if it's my audio or not, but it's very quiet. Oh God, my thoughts escaped me. I'm gonna grab it before it runs away. Yeah, I think if we do another one, it would be good to have one that's more about a project, and with, like, I want to say evidence based. I'm not talking about bar charts and statistics and stuff like that necessarily, because I don't think we can get that kind of data for anything that we do. But I think it would be good to show the result of something. So an outcome, a project, some way that we have directly impacted somebody, something, a project, whatever. just looking at like the other sessions that I went to at a Calicon, I learned something, and I saw an idea being put into action, and then a real world consequence, real world outcome from that. And I found those the most interesting or the most useful. And I just think it for in terms of offering something of value to the people going, because I didn't realize there's like 10 different presentations on in every single hour slot. So you're competing for participants or viewers with a lot of different presentations. So if we want to have one that's well attended, we need to offer something that they would prioritize over a discussion on the outcomes of a supported employment program, or an introduction to a type of therapy or intervention, just picking two off the top of my head that I went to last year. Yeah, I think it'd be worth doing again, but I think we need to come up with something that really grabs people and tells them something completely new.
I don't think we've got anything like that.
That's what made the partnering new.
Yeah, I think the aspect to that is probably true. There is, yeah, partnering with an organization would be something that made it new, yeah, or with an individual, or with an autism professional. So if anybody has any other business or anything they need to bring up. Sounds like it's over to you, Harry.
Thank you, Julie. This is Spectrum Voices Conversation, here every Sunday, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. UK time, and 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States. This is Sunday, 3rd of March 2024, and this is the Facebook part of the broadcast. And the first post is from Chris Packer, who's a public figure, and he's known as a wildlife TV presenter and conversationist. But he's also known for his autism diagnosis, and based on that, he's promoting the repeat of Inside Our Autistic Minds on the BBC. Actually tomorrow, Monday the 4th of March, 9 p.m, BBC Two and BBC iPlayer. And it's basically Inside the Autistic Minds repeats this coming Monday and Tuesday. I immerse myself in the lives of 4 young autistic people, Flo, Murray, Ethan and Anton, to learn about their own experiences and challenge commonly held assumptions about what it means to be autistic. So I just thought it'd be good to share that, because I can remember that we've kind of talked about it at great length, and we've watched it ourselves the first time before, so that's why it was shared. Any thoughts?
I think the nice thing is to say that he won awards, and this particular program had so many positive responses.
Yeah, what I liked about it was it deliberately went to 4 different people who were obviously, who were totally different from each other, to illustrate the point about breaking down the stereotype for a start, and not being over patronising or anything like that. That's the thing that people are always wary of, is something's patronising, even though it doesn't mean to be, but it's patronising, but it's not. It's trying to be open. It's sometimes you can be a bit defensive, and some things kind of are said. You're going, well, what did you say that for? But you've got to remember the audience as well, what it's for. But I think in the main, it's very worthwhile watching. Sometimes it's difficult watching in terms of sometimes it cuts too close to the bone in terms of my own experience. But I can remember watching it the first time. I had to kind of take a couple of breaks, but that wasn't because it was bad. It was just because it was, maybe I could say, too good. It's just it just hit me kind of hard in terms of the message it was bringing, and how some experiences are quite similar to mine, depending who Chris was speaking to.
Yeah, it's a BBC programme, which means that only people in the UK can watch it directly on the BBC, but we do have, under the educational dispensation of copyright, a version on our website, autisticradio.com, where people from around the world can listen to a edited version of the program, edited to make the sound reduced and make it more available to autistic people.
The next post is from Awesome Charlie. And Awesome Charlie is an entrepreneur. Charlie Hart Association, CIPD, they, also known as Awesome Charlie. Professional speaker, HR consultant specialising in neurodiversity and LGBTQIA+ inclusion. Charlie is a neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, CPDSD, and identifies as a queer AU-ADHDer. Website awesomecharlie.co.uk. And what they've shared is a neurodiversity celebration week. Was this month, it's 18th to 24th of March, and it's a kind of panel discussion online, and it's called Neurodivergent and LGBTQIA+, the double rainbow intersection. And it's on Wednesday the 20th of March, 9:30 to 11 AM, I think, and it's UK time. And the description is just saying, really excited to invite I have really been excited to. Right, I'll start again. What the text explains is Awesome Charlie is really excited to be invited to chair the Neurodivergent and LGBTQIA+ panel as part of the Neurodiversity Celebration Week. I look forward to meeting my diverse and awesome panel. AJ Singh, he, Grace Liu, Ollie Roscoe, Shazzy Tharby, and Tony McCaverty. And the link provided to access it is on the post itself, and it also says Neurodiversity Celebration Week is a worldwide initiative that challenges stereotypes and misconceptions about neurological differences. It aims to transform how neurodivergent individuals are perceived and supported by providing opportunities to recognise the many talents of neurodivergent individuals, while creating more inclusive and equitable cultures that celebrate differences and empower every individual. We are looking forward to sharing our insights about life on the intersection of neurodivergence and LGBTQIA+.
I think this is really important. We're very fortunate in the UK because the LGBTQ community have a certain amount of ability to be heard. Obviously, that could always be improved, but there are so many countries around the world where that particular part of people's identity is suppressed or illegal, and so somebody who's autistic, who is in both groups, where there's an intersection for those identities, might not get the opportunity to hear and be amongst fellows. So I think it's really good that that's a worldwide access possibility, and it's free. I'm hoping that they'll also make that as an after the event download. I think they have in the past, so let's hope that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, last year I did go to a few of the Neurodiversity Celebration Week things, and they tended not to record and have them available afterwards, so that people could feel free to participate in the event and have their camera on and stuff and ask questions without that then potentially being available to just anyone on the internet.
Oh dear.
Which, yeah,
it's always a difficulty, isn't it?
It's a real double-edged sword, because you want the stuff to be available, but you also want people attending the thing to contribute and for there to be a discussion. So it's, anyway.
That's where editing comes in.
Yeah.
That's where editing comes in. Have a live event, but then make the parts of it that are possible to be available, the edited parts available. That really needs to be the thing that's done for these things. That would be my new kind of bandwagon. I think the drum I want to beat is that it's great that people have live events and have open events, but the need is out there for people to access edited versions of that, improved sound, and also have the bits that are more sensitive, redacted.
I can understand what you're saying, Julian, and it is unfortunate, but I do understand why that approach is done. I mean, it's about people feeling safe, and even if they're saying, "Oh, we're recording this, but we'll edit your part out," it's just people still feel vulnerable to that. It's just unfortunate that has to be, but people have got a right to feel safe. But I do get what you mean, though. But if you're not walking in their shoes, it's hard to be too critical. Just disappointed because on you go, Julian.
No, I'm not being critical, and I fully understand that the reasons for this. What I would like, though, is there to be as much as possible of the other kinds of things that, recorded stuff that's recorded and edited and is available to more people after the event. The more of that, the better. And I know it's difficult to create it in all circumstances, and some circumstances aren't possible. But just I want more of it out there,
It's probably worth mentioning at this point that we've had a discussion about gender and sexuality, which was edited. I don't think we edited much out of it, but that is out there. It's part of our back catalogue. If anybody listening is interested in the topic and wants to hear discussion about that, we have made a recording about that is out there, available for anyone to listen to.
Yeah, just look for the word queer.
The next one is through Julian's hard work, is a new podcast that was posted today, and it's the discussion with Alex Strategist from Autism Adventures Abroad. Podcast is around 43 minutes long, and Alex is a disability travel consultant used by the tourism industry. Usually we speak to him as a representative of positive autistic identity. His website, Autism Adventures Abroad, is about the positives of travel for autistic people. This conversation is rather mixed. One airport experience is used as a good example of practice around hidden disabilities, and another is a tale of missed opportunities. We would love to hear how things have changed if British Airways or Heathrow would be willing to join to make another recording. And this is available on the page and also available on our website.
Yeah, I'm not expecting either British Airways or Heathrow to respond to that in any way, shape or form, but Alex is going to forward the podcast to the public relations parts of both of those companies with which he had a negative experience, and also to our local airport, Edinburgh Airport, which created a very positive experience for him. So making a recording and then sending it direct to the public relations part and the disability parts of those organizations and the people that are trying to change culture and make the sunflower lanyard something that means something, is something that he's trying.
I've had the facility at Edinburgh before COVID. I'm not flown since any more recently, but certainly, of course, asymmetrical. Only guessing it's the start of the journey, not the other end. But we have got something. And Glasgow seems more passive, as wearing the lanyard, but the lanyard is the good thing.
I think the whole scheme started at Gatwick Airport, didn't it? That's where it originated. So I remember my dad having a sunflower lanyard. He had Parkinson's, and one of the things that he struggled with most was freezing. So he would stop walking and then not be able to start again, especially if there were people cutting across his path or moving around him. He would end up freezing. So they had a sunflower lanyard for him, and the staff there were great. They understood that it meant, okay, don't have a go at this guy. He's not acting strangely. There's obviously something, something that he's struggling with. And then I borrowed it when I flew to Belfast in 2018, I think. And the staff at Belfast Airport were fantastic with it. I wore it on the way out at Gatwick. I don't know if there was a way to bypass duty free, because that's just sensory hell. It's like being bombarded on every level. But on the way back, I think it was the first traffic jam they'd had in Belfast for about 40 years, according to the taxi driver. So I was massively stressed when we got there, and I was not in a good way. But I was wearing the sunflower lanyard, and the gate staff just saw it. They took one look at me and they were like, right, we'll sit you down here in a separate corridor away from everyone else. I was just sitting there trying not to have a full-blown panic attack, and I was just left to it. I was with my boyfriend at the time. I'm not saying they just left me alone, but they could see I I didn't need anyone crowding me. I didn't need anyone fussing. I just needed space and quiet, and that's exactly what they gave me. So I've had good experiences with it. Yeah, I think it started at Gatwick Airport and it kind of spread from there, because of the need for people not to be approached and accused of all sorts of nefarious things in a airport when they are just struggling with a hidden condition.
Justin wants us to know that he has in the past, and he also will wear in the future, his sunflower lanyard, and he also says proudly with a thumbs up and a smiley face and a sunflower. So it's possibly a bit of an identity thing that can be useful.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, well, it can be. I mean, I haven't been in an airport for a long time. Well, before COVID, actually. Or just before it. COVID. Going on holiday, going to Spain for the first time. With my brothers, and it was the first time I'd been going on a plane for about 20 years. Because it's just not my, it's not the plane, it's not my ideal of going abroad, it's just not something I do. I'm just someone that likes to kind of stay at home and stay kind of local. And I just find the, that type of travel, the airport and all that, quite intimidating because, very security conscious, and I can understand it needs to be, but it's just the atmosphere, and then again, if it wasn't even like that, there's a lot of people, there's noise, lights, sounds, things that if you're sensitive. And it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was up all night, just the way that the flight went. Although, unlike my brother, I wasn't coming off the night shift. I mean, not night shift, but my brother was just coming, off work, and then we stayed up all night until we get a taxi into Glasgow Airport. But it's just that travelling, the thought of travelling alone doing that is quite intimidating. I think it was a bit better because I was travelling with people. But I'm always in awe of people the autistic people that can actually travel, alone, especially through airports and going to other countries, especially now, the way things are now. Not just going out but coming home as well. It's like don't act too nervous, or the airport security will pull you up. What you up to? Why you acting suspicious? And if I had that sort of thing, it'd make you worse. Naturally, these big security people. But it's good that there's some things in place to combat that. Although more work can be done to alleviate it in other places. But the lanyard thing's a very good idea for a lot of people.
I don't know if it's spreading around the world. I had a sense that maybe Canada had adopted it. I don't know if Justin knows anything about that.
Moving on to the next post. This is from Little Puddin's education website, from an autistic person from Ireland, Dublin. littlepuddinsPrints.com, and they've shared a picture, and it's called "Do Not Tidy My Autistic Safe Places." Amanda McGuinness from Little Puddins in Ireland. And what it says, it's got a picture of someone sitting in the colourful corners basically saying, "Do not touch my things." And what it says, as a wee list of it, is, "I see order in what you see as chaos. It helps me to feel calm. It is part of autistic culture. Each item is so meaningful to me. It doesn't have to make sense to you. It is very meaningful to me, and if you disturb the order I've created, I will become distressed." And the text at the bottom just basically says, it just sums it up a little bit. It doesn't have to make sense to you when you see autistic people's safe spaces. It only has to make sense to them. So, don't touch.
The possibility of any number of teenagers not being diagnosed yet and being autistic intersects both those groups, and there's such a stereotype image of teenagers, and this argument applies equals just to this, just personal liberty arguments that the autistics help them as well. This make a liberty culture, not an own good culture, which is not in fact good. You know where everything is. As a guy in Fife said, and there's a group there. I'm glad this is being said for a population group which, being in the adult bracket of liberty, will make the case at that level first, and then, as I say, extend it from there.
I think it's very easy for people who don't understand us to think it's a mess when there's a certain need for us to have our own mind map of where things are, and moving things around can be disturbing to us, and it's something I identify with. It's possibly something that's less important to me as I have grown older, but I think what Morris is saying about when you were maybe in your teen years or younger, it was even more intense then, definitely.
I do recall this myself, not in too brutal a fashion. I mean, it was done with the best intentions. It was when I first moved into my own house, just 5 minutes away from my parents, and before I was using the internet all the time, my hobby was to have writing pads, and sometimes it was, I used to like writing lists, putting things in order on lists, and that sort of thing. It was like a great pastime. It doesn't make much sense now because I've got so many other options now, and I can do a lot of that online, or not online, but on the computer as such. But my mum used to come up every now and again and tidy my house, and she'd moved them. She'd put the notepads away. There they were easy enough to find. It's just like I didn't say anything bad about it, and I wouldn't. It's just like I'm saying to myself, don't just leave it. Everything in the house is fine. It's tidy enough. It's my safe haven. I think that's what it is. It's like your own home, or if you're living with your parents, your own room maybe. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't have my own room. I share with my brother, but your own space somewhere, and you don't want it to be touched. Especially a teenager's a bit more kind of. It's just like, don't touch my stuff and just move it without telling me, or it's just to tidy it up and whether it isn't really being a mess. Um, that's what I can sort of identify with that, but I know there's a lot more to it than that. But I just thought it was quite funny kind of memory that came in my head there.
I think I still experience this a bit. Sorry, Karen, Morris.
Such a solidarity.
I still experience this with work projects, like if I'm doing accounts and I need to be able to see lots of documents, paper documents and forms and things. I will take over a whole area and have things on desks and floors and shelves, and I will have a map of mind where I know where everything is for that period of time. And if there's a shuffle or a move or my partner's learned to just let me get on with it and tolerate that for a period of time, because it becomes very difficult to me if something was moved about, because it would be part of my thinking, almost the position of something.
Yeah, I can identify with that as well. I can recall when I was out on Oxfam, there wasn't a lot of room in the desk anyway because of the way it was set up, but if I would kind of leave things at a certain place for me to, like if I'm going for lunch, um, I would put something on the desk and just leave it at a certain part where I'm at, and then I'll deal with it when I come back. But because of the nature of the back room, some people would actually take the opportunity to go on the computer while I wasn't there. Some people would use the desk doing something else, which is fair enough. But I just found it frustrating because they moved what I had out the way to do it, and they didn't put it back. Didn't put it anywhere that I couldn't see it. I mean, it wasn't a problem that way. It's just like, it's amazing the things that irk you, even though no one's doing it with any bad intention, and I never said anything, but it's just like, just leave it. Don't tidy up. Even though they weren't tidying up, they were just moving something out of the way so they can do something. Or maybe in their head they thought they were tidying up by putting something in a pile where they've got space so they can use for their job. It's just, yep, life.
I've got an update from Justin about the sunflower lanyard in Canada. He said that when he flew through Edinburgh out to Canada, he wore the lanyard, and he also wore it back through Pearson Airport, and everybody was helpful in all of those scenarios. So it looks as though the sunflower lanyard has got a bit more of an international standing than I knew.
I had a quick look on their website, and you can access the Sunflower Scheme website from a variety of countries and then buy stuff in the right currency. And there was a blog article about how Hamburg Airport has adopted the scheme recently. So I think it is starting to spread. Like, it's certainly available worldwide, but it is up to individual airports, businesses, countries to adopt it. Yeah, but it's getting there.
Justin's also put in a text here, following on from what Harry just said. Funnily enough, I used to write lists as well, including top 10 lists of musicians, actors, actresses, etc. So I understand where Harry was coming from. I don't tend to do any more now, but I used to. So there's a familiarity there.
No, found a friend. No, that's good. I thought that was the same sort of thing I had on. It was like top 10 stuff, and sometimes I know this is going to sound straight. Things I used to do, I actually used to make up bus timetables. I mean, I create a bus timetable for a route that doesn't exist. It was like, see if I was in charge of, because I was very fascinated with buses, lampposts as well, as I said before. But buses, I was fascinated with, and I always found that the bus services were poor. And I thought, if I was in charge, this is how I would do it. It's just weird thinking that now. But it was good fun.
I still do something that's a bit related to what you said you used to do, and I still do it. It's kind of a mental stim. I plan trips that I'm never going to take. Like if I need to de-stress, or if I need to sleep, maybe, or I don't know why. It just sometimes I just find myself doing it, and I would use a website like Skyscanner, and I would work out how to get around the world without spending more than £100 on any single flight or something like that, as an exercise in just working things through, and seeing. I don't know. There's something about filling up your mind space or something.
I think it's just progressive kind of mindset, because it's something, even if it's not something that's going to happen, it's just something you're preparing for, or it's just like, I don't know, filling the mind in a positive way. Because in a lot of times, when I did do when I was doing that, it was like trying to take my mind off, harsher things. Because as we know, we can sometimes go over kind of things or regrets and things that have happened to us in the past, and that can really kind of take over and make you feel so miserable. So things like that, which may make no sense to a lot of people, does make sense when you compare to what you would be thinking about.
Yeah, I think that de-stressing part of it, or avoiding other things, or keeping things that might otherwise be intruding, pushing back intrusive thoughts, maybe that works for me as a way of linking it.
The next post is from Diary of an Autistic Mom, personal blog, just a mom blogging about her daughter's journey with autism. And it's just a personal reflection experience. So I'll just read it out. My thoughts when thinking about leaving my daughter in someone else's care. Will they be able to understand her like when it comes to a lack of communication? Will she be safe and keep her from running off? Will they know how to help her when she becomes frustrated and has behaviours they can't control? Will they lose their patience with her? Will they treat her as if she's being a bad child? Can they handle her when she needs sensory input? Will they make sure she isn't putting random objects in her mouth that don't belong? There's just so many to name. The thought of it makes me never want to leave her side. That's very powerful. So other thoughts?
I don't know. Being a parent's overwhelming, and the thought of it's overwhelming. Even when you don't want parents to be over smothering, so the world's full of reasons not to have got into it. It's the anxiety, isn't it? The anxiety strand and the uncertainty strand, not instinctively certain of the odds in situations. Does she ever have to leave them in someone's care who might do those questions in the middle, but treat as if being bad? Will they know how to help her? Will they know how to help her? Does she ask them? Can she ask them before ever getting into the situation? Heavy.
Can people hear Morris?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear talking. It's not loud enough for me to process words from it, but I can hear talking.
Yeah, I can't hear, so I can't. I'll hear it in the edit, but it would be nice to be able to add or say other things.
Are you able to increase the sound in?
No, it's all on maximum. No,
right,
the only way is if he gets closer to the microphone.
Oh, right.
The bloody mic is right beside me, like I'm 8 inches, so there's my blue bendy ruler.
We can hear you when you're annoyed.
Maybe a different microphone. There could be a fault with the mic and it's not picking up enough sound, possibly.
There might be settings. There might be settings on the computer, maybe.
Oh dear.
Maybe there's mic setting on the actual computer.
In terms of the post, I can relate to having those concerns, not as a parent, but actually as a child, about my parent. Worrying about Dad going into he had to go into a what would you call it, nursing home at one point, and we were all concerned because at that point he wasn't really understanding English. If you spoke to him in French, he wouldn't understand. French was his thinking language. So in order to respond to instructions in English, he had to first hold that thought, then translate it into English, and then effect an action. His English by that point was incredibly scientific in nature. So if you needed to get him to lift his foot up, to put a shoe on, you had to say, please raise your leg. Because if you said lift your foot up, he would just lift the toes off the floor. So you had to be very precise. You had to know exactly how to phrase whatever you were saying to him in order for him to understand it the best. Or if you could say it in French, say it in French. And just understanding the non-verbal behaviours and all sorts of things that we understood as a family because we knew him so well. And just the worry of, will they understand what that means? And will they then misinterpret him not understanding something as a cognition issue when it's in fact just a translation issue? And it was a really scary kind of place to be emotionally, because you can't turn off the caring about somebody when you're not physically able to be there. I mean, this was 2021 as well. For 2 weeks, he was allowed no visitors. It was really tense time. Worrying about whether his needs are being met properly. And I mean, the staff are fantastic. They did everything they could, but it doesn't stop you as the person who is in the position of caring. It doesn't stop you worrying. I can only imagine what it's like when you're the parent and it's your child that you're worrying about. Yeah, all my sympathy.
The next post will be very familiar to us. It's from Life and Autistic Life. It's from Life and can't speak. The next post is from Life in an Autism World, who's a writer. Page run by autistic person. Life in an Autistic World on Instagram for more content. And what they've shared is it's like a comic book, and it's showing it's like two panes, like in a comic book, and it's showing like two buttons. One button is have a routine, and the other one is be spontaneous, and it's leaving the person sweating. And what I'm relating to this is maybe having a routine is boring, but being spontaneous might sound a bit exciting. It would certainly make me sweat because I've done that before, and it makes me very uncomfortable because I'm not used to with routine. I'm just wondering how others think about that one.
Well, yeah, any form of divergence of options has to be weighed up. And choices from the menu can be just as slow, even when you're with someone, even when there's with Stella. Two autistic people still couldn't speed up, even though we understood what each other were struggling with.
I can see a bit of a sort of ADHD thing in here, like so if he's ADHD and autistic, and the ADHD part of your brain is going, oh, we do this every day, I'm really bored, I want to do something different, and he's dopamine, come on, let's do something spontaneous. And then the autistic part's going, what? Are you mad? We can't do anything spontaneous. We need to do the routine, otherwise everything will fall apart. And yeah, it's Yeah, I can see why the guy's sweating in the meme, because it is a bit like that. Thing is, like, what I found is I have to get the autistic part of my brain to have a word with the ADHD part and point out to the ADHD part that it functions best when there is a routine, and we'll do a spontaneous thing, but within the confines of the routine. So we'll go for a walk. We're doing the walk that we're going to do, but we'll go a different route. We'll just go out of the door and we'll start walking and we'll see what happens. And it's like making a little compromise between the different parts of my brain that are sometimes in agreement with each other and sometimes they don't get on so well. It's like having a cat and a dog that are constantly fighting, but occasionally they'll cuddle up and have a little nap together. You know, two parts of the warring factions of your brain that occasionally get on.
I just don't like the word spontaneity. I don't. I like to do different things. I like to have an idea, but then I like to plan it and organize it. I don't like this idea of, oh, let's just go and do this, because of all the other things that go with it. So spontaneity, no. Change, fine, but spontaneity, just no. I don't want it. And that's not the opposite of routine to me. I like my routines, and I like to know how things go, and I like to do things in the right way. I don't know. People can keep their spontaneity as far as I'm concerned.
The next post is a new podcast sharing, and it's just sharing the podcast from 2 weeks ago, sharing Facebook posts, and there was contributions from Tony Atwood, Autism Support Community, Autistic Ally Support, Autistic author Torrin Cairns, and Neurodivergent Rebel. And the podcast runtime is 43 minutes, so if you're interested, you can have a. It's available on the Facebook page and on the website. The next post from that is from.
Sorry, Gary. Sorry to interrupt. You edit the podcast, and I just want to make sure that listeners know that the first thing that I said when we were talking about the Tony Atwood post that we were discussing was, I wish Tony Atwood would just go fuck off. But obviously that had to be cut out in the edit. So you can cut it out of this edit as well, mate.
Why did that have to be cut? Was it for swearing or?
No, it didn't have to be cut. I think it was sensible to cut it. I'm being mischievous, you know.
I'm making Harry do more editing. I see. This is some kind of prank, right? Okay.
I think Harry does a great job, and he ought to have absolute control over what he does and what he doesn't put in his recordings. I'm being mischievous.
I just, like, for a second I was like, oh god, is there a serious no swearing policy? Because I can remember one broadcast where, and I won't do it, but we said a word that a lot of people find quite offensive about 20 times each. I'm just thinking, it's that little bit of audio is floating around lost in the computer somewhere. Oh dear. Yeah, I now I'm worrying, do I swear a lot? Because I do. And I'm wondering whether I'm consciously not swearing because I know people are listening.
Well, that's actually quite interesting, because I do swear a lot in my normal life, but I don't swear so much when we're broadcasting, because I know it's an autistic. I know a lot of people actually find it really offensive, and you know, for some people it's like fingernails on a chalkboard. So maybe we probably do need to edit out the odd bit and bob of things that people, are hurt by. But they're all there in the light, in the unmasked, long version anyway.
The edit's done in terms of the way how the conversation goes. There's certainly no censorship. It just didn't sound. It didn't suit from what Julian said afterwards. I'll just cut this bit out, and then it seems a bit more reasonable. It's just about flow. It's not about cutting swearing out, because there's a bit of swearing that I do leave in because it's natural conversation. There's going to be emotion here and there, and people are going to give a swear word every now and again. So that's all it was. But I knew Julian would just bring it up for jest anyway, so I'd need to do it for this one.
I'm just running the audio back in my head because I have about a week's worth of backlog before it gets overwritten, and I can hear that bit, and then I'm thinking where the conversation went then. And as an editorial decision, I think that's the right thing, because if you're listening to that as a podcast and you're, I don't know, doing the ironing or out on a walk, listening to the live version might be quite arresting. It's just interesting anyway.
I'm happy with all the decisions Harry makes in his podcast. And I am just being mischievous because I did email Harry about it earlier.
Moving on, the next post is from the Actually Autistic Coach. Shared this stuff before. Personal coach. I empower my fellow autistic people by working to uncover and unmask, revealing our best selves. The autisticcoach.com. And what it's saying in the text itself is, did you recently understand that you're actually autistic? Are you still exploring the possibility? My workshop is made for you. We explore what autism really is, how to advocate for ourselves, practice self-care, and much more. And it's under as pay as you can. And just to send a message for details. But what I'll go into the actual post in terms of it was shared, called the Workshop for Autistic Humans, newly identified. Learn about autism, masking, unmasking, meltdowns, burnout, self-advocacy, connect with fellow autistic humans, shared life experience. And these events are on Tuesdays, March the 5th, 12th and 26th, and April the 9th and 16th. It's 6:30pm Central, I'll just say it's 5:30 UK time. And it's led by Matthew, the autistic coach. The post is good, it's just that there's so much information and different angles, so that's why I'm kind of puffing about a wee bit. So what do people think about this? Because he has shared stuff before, it's been quite positive. So this is just one of his most recent ones.
I think I've said before that the most useful things I've learned about neurodivergence have been from my peers, from the community, because I've been able to relate to them a lot more, relate to the people saying it, and relate to what they're saying as well. There's undoubtedly, I found some very interesting stuff through reading more sort of medical academic stuff. But what's actually made a difference in my quality of life has been what I've learned from other autistic people, and not from a book or a course or a research paper, although I do read those too just because I'm interested in it from the kind of academic geeky angle. I think if I went back, well, it'll be 6 years this year. If I went back 6 years, I would probably be going, oh, this is exactly what I need, from somebody who's living it. I mean, I was a tutor on a course for adults with long-term health conditions, and all of the tutors were peers. We were all people with long-term health conditions who had also done the course as participants. And it's that peer-to-peer learning that actually is very effective for learning proper life skills and strategies, and learning it from people who get it. So there's this thing called white coat syndrome, and there's so many definitions of this because every time I hear somebody use those words, they mean something else. But white coat syndrome in this context is that if you're diagnosed with any sort of health condition, let's say arthritis, because I've got that one too, and the doctor says, well, if you just did yoga, you'd find that would strengthen your joints a lot. And you think, yeah, but what do you know, mate? Because you're like, you don't have this, you don't live with this. But if somebody else who lives with your condition, or somebody else who understands or has a similar condition says, actually, I found yoga really helpful for strengthening my joints, people are much more likely to be open to hearing that from somebody who is equal to them, not somebody who's talking down to them, if that makes sense. God, now I'm thinking about that Monty Python sketch with John Cleese and Ronnie Barker and Ronnie Corbett. Yeah, it's that peer-to-peer learning that's actually really effective.
Well, what strikes me is that this would have been a good starting point for the work done by the Autism Network when they were trying to work out a way of producing a program for late diagnosed and adults with autism. This would have been a good bit of research for them to have started with and take an example from to create the program that they have created, because they've gone from their experience as autism professionals, and this guy is, like Liz says, bringing in the actual experience of the people. So it's including the autistic sensibility right from the beginning in the delivery of the program, in the design of the program, right at its inception.
I was just thinking that. I'm just reading the criteria, and I don't know whether the actually autistic coach is a CIC or non-profit, but apart from that sort of legal status bit, I would say that project meets all the other criteria. Autistic people involved in the development, design, and delivery, because it's by an autistic person. It's strengths based. Well, that's, as we discussed, kind of a muddy, vague statement, but you couldn't say it's weakness. It's not a deficit based thing, certainly. I don't know whether it does work in partnership with other stuff in Matthew's area, because I don't know where he is, but it certainly meets the first criteria completely. See, it's much easier to apply them to something that exists than to use those criteria to design a service. But yeah.
It's just great. I mean, it's great. That kind of ties in from what we've been talking about. It's just great to see something like that existing. The opportunity to share, to work together, to learn from each other, and not to be patronised. I mean, that's always the fear that I have, is being patronised or feeling patronised, even though there's no intent there. I've been kind of ultra defensive about that in the past, even though someone wasn't doing it, but it seems like they were. And it's about people that are newly identified as autistic, so it's good that it's there. It looks friendly. it's always going to talk about quite quite deep stuff, like burnout, but talk about self-advocacy and talk about meltdowns as well, which is quite brutal. Well, you know what I mean, brutal, but you know what I mean, it's quite intense. So it's just good that it exists and there's opportunities for that, and as a good example of something that can work. From the outside, anyway, from what we can see so far.
Yeah, we don't know the quality of it, but we are guessing, and we're making assumptions that it's a very good thing. I just think about from the money point of view. At the bottom, the guy is asking for little donations, little scraps of money, a little bit like a GoFundMe page. And you compare that to what's actually happening elsewhere, and that's an individual, actually, autism professional is receiving thousands of pounds directly from the taxpayer. Whereas this actually autistic guy is probably going to reach more late diagnosed people and more autistic adults with better high quality material than the professional is. It feels to me as though there's a theft going on from the taxpayer when that money could have been allocated towards something like this.
Well, that was a great conversation tonight. Thanks very much for everyone being involved. We went through quite a few things, quite a few topics, quite a varied discussed items. Organisations, individuals, people talk about their own children, etc. I mean, it all kind of worked well. So thanks again. So this is Spectrum Voices Conversation, here every Sunday, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. UK time, and 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States. So thank you again, and we look forward to doing this again next time. So good night.
Good night.
Good night.